Hi, this is Terry Farrell, Dax from Deep Space Nine, and welcome to Random Trek.
Good morning, good afternoon, and welcome to this tribunal here on Random Trek. I am your faithful arbiter, Captain Christopher Ingle, joined as always by my first officer, the man in charge of defending the vicious Captain Jonathan Archer, Brennan, the mystical Mar. Brennan, he's guilty.
I always wondered, what is bloodline made of?
You'd know. I've actually wanted to buy some, but I have not done that. I hear it's Bordeaux. But anyway, today we are taking a look at the season 2, episode 19, Star Trek Enterprise episode Judgment. This is where Captain Archer is put on trial with the Klingons and looks very familiar to a certain Star Trek movie that I love a whole heck of a lot.
Yes.
Yes, it does. Brennan, what did you think of this one going in?
I'd never seen this one, but I'd heard of it. And I was aware of the parallels with Star Trek 6. So.
Yeah, and this episode definitely parallels Undiscovered Country, but also plays into some things later on in Enterprise, which I like. And of course, we'll talk about that a little bit later on down the line. But let's get into the basics of the episode. So the episode opens up where we find Captain Archer on trial at a Klingon tribunal, and he is charged with aiding rebels who oppose the Empire and attacking a Klingon ship. In his cell, Archer gets a visit from Dr. Phlox under the pretext that he needs to be checked for a contagion, and kind of updates Archer on what's going on. Kind of tries to get him released, but it doesn't work. Archer tells Phlox to relay a message back to T'Pol that no matter what happens, whether he gets out or not, you are to leave orbit and keep the Enterprise crew safe, because all these Klingons will destroy you. You need to leave. So in the tribunal chamber, the prosecutor, Orak, faces off against Archer's advocate, who is a veteran named Kolos.
Played by a familiar face.
Yes, he is. A man who is very familiar to playing Klingons, Mr. J.G. Hertzler. Who, if you don't know that name, that's Martok.
Yay.
Yep. Good old Martok. We love him. But no, J.G. Hertzler is fabulous in this episode. But while acting fabulous, this advocate is a little inept in that he doesn't challenge anything. He doesn't defend him, nothing. He just kind of jaded by the process of law in Klingon culture. So Orak calls his first witness, who is the former captain, another familiar name we'll know down the line, Duras.
Yes.
The Duras. They call Duras to testify. First of all, because of this incident, he's been demoted down to second weapons officer. He is no longer captain. And during this interrogation of Duras, Archer isn't allowed to interject or question at all. And Kolos isn't doing anything either. Duras relates to him a very biased tale of him confronting a very belligerent Archer who fires on the Klingon ship first. And Archer can't hold back anything. And he basically is like, this is wrong. You're not giving him the chance. And they pain stick him. They pain stick him pretty heavily by the guards. So back in the cell, Kolos says he's tasked with offering Archer a deal. I'll give you a deal. It's not quite a plea bargain, but basically help us out, tell us where the rebels are, and it's all going to be fine. All going to be fine. He's like, they didn't do anything. I didn't do anything.
I guess
Nothing
we should back
here.
up and say
I
that the Enterprise was
in a flashback, which actually we get it in two different ways. I love when they do this, but the Enterprise was helping these people who their world was annexed by the Klingon Empire, therefore default becoming members of the Klingon Empire. But they escaped. They escaped, and the Klingons viewed this as treason. Well, they're searching for them, and they need help. They were drifting for weeks and were running out of food, water, supplies. They were running out of everything. So the Enterprise comes across them and offers humanitarian aid. But then Duras comes across them and is basically like, return them to us now or else. Well, Archer's not going to do that. Archer's like, no, these people didn't do anything. They're not traitors. And we're not aiding and abetting. This is humanitarian aid. But the Klingons are not known for their sense of humanitarian aid. And they fire. And the Enterprise defends itself. They do defend themselves. And they hightail it to get away. But Kolos goes after them. The ensuing chase results in Archer eventually winning and temporarily disabling the ship, the Klingon ship. This, of course, and these quote quote rebels get away. This does not look good for Duras, who again is dishonored and discommendated for that, and turned down to a second officer. Not very good. Not very good at all. So Archer insists that they were attacked, yada, 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 but the Klingons aren't listening. And his advocate isn't helping. So he really pleads with Kolos in his cell. Look, work harder. Give me a valid defense. This isn't fair and you know it. It's not right. He basically tells him how the judiciary system used to be all about the law and about honor. But now the warrior mindset of the Klingon people has meant that victory supplants honor. Kolos, realizing that this isn't the kind of lawyer he wants to be, re-enters the courtroom and he fights for Archer's rights. He testifies very heavily, and it surprises everyone. Archer is allowed to tell his version of the tale, which is what I just told you, and that he did damage the Klingon ship, but did not fire first. He was helping neglected refugees, not rebels. And it gave Kolos the chance to kind of relate that Archer has helped the Empire in the past, going all the way back to Broken Bow. And then, of course,
Many times.
Many times, yeah. 2-3 times, definitely has helped the Empire. Unfortunately, despite everything, Archer is still found guilty. But the Klingon adjudicator basically says, but you know what? You're absolutely right. He's still guilty of beating our crimes, or beating our laws, but he didn't do so in the name of treason. It's not worth death. So we commute the sentence of death.
Gee, where have we heard that?
Boy, we've heard that before. But we're going to send you, now tell me if you've heard this one before, to life on the moon, or on the planet, I think it's the planet.
Asteroid.
The penal colony of Rurapente, where you will spend your life mining for dilithium. Does that sound familiar to anyone? But Kolos aggravates everyone and is like, this isn't right. And you know it. You just admitted everything and you're still sending him. And so for contempt of court, Kolos is relegated to spending a year at Rurapente, which almost certainly means death. Or both him and Archer. So we turn to them being on Rurapente. Meanwhile, T'Pol off-screen uses some backdoor channels to bribe some Klingon captains, or a Klingon captain, to help kind of get them off of Rurapente, which they managed to do quite easily, I gotta say. And maybe this is why there's now shielding on the surface and stuff anymore.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Kolos has the opportunity to go with Archer, but he opts to remain and to do his time, because if he leaves, he is a renegade. And as a renegade, he cannot change the law. He needs to.
Who told him
Mm-hmm.
what saved Earth
Mm-hmm.
was a few good people making a difference.
Right. And so that's how the episode ends, is with Reed getting Archer out of there and Kolos staying behind. So Brennan, let's talk about the true two heroes in this, because this is really a two-man show right now.
Yeah.
It is Archer and Kolos.
Yes.
So let's talk about how good a job both of them are acting wise in this episode.
Well, very good, and particularly J.G. Hertzler
Mm-hmm.
was always reliable
Mm-hmm.
in Star Trek.
And it's such a different Klingon than Martok.
Mm-hmm.
Martok is a warrior, even though he is very diplomatic. He can be, 100%. But this is different. This is a jaded, older kind of character.
Yep.
And how many stories have we seen of the prosecutor who is just there to make it happen because he has to be, I like to think back to what, when you think back to Kill a Mockingbird, what Atticus Finch could have been.
Could have been, yeah.
Could have been. Now, he didn't. But the idea was, and I think everyone expected it, that he was guilty. Everyone knew it. And this felt very similar to that, even though the evidence clearly shows that Archer is not guilty here. His guilt was already signed.
It is there To Kill a Mockingbird, because they were already going to find Tom Robinson guilty no matter what.
And that's what was going to happen to Archer. Archer was found guilty. But what saved his life was Kolos going, you know what? No, this isn't right. This isn't okay. He deserves better. Is he an idiot? Yeah. Should he have gotten involved? No. But is this worth death? No, it's not.
Yeah, and it's interesting to me that according to Kolos, Klingon justice used to be more fair.
Mm-hmm.
But it's almost like their culture has shifted into war and death and violence. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We here on Random Check, we very much love our Klingon episodes. So much so. And this is another great view of this idea that we never get to see a lot of. And that's that not all Klingons are warriors. Kolos is not a warrior by any means, and he admits that. The mentality of the people are that they are warriors, but he is not that.
And neither were his parents.
Neither were his parents. But what's really interesting is that he yet shows us what real Klingon honor is to be. And that's funny, because when we go into original series, if we go sequentially, there is no honor in the Empire.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about conquest and power and taking over, and of course, representative of the Cold War and what it was. But still, this is very interesting that we get the decision to really show honor. And maybe until we get to Next Generation, this may be one of the last Klingons that we see that truly has a sense of honor. Maybe I think I'm trying to think. Chancellor Gorkon, I would say maybe was one of the last.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah, but still, it's rare, and he's fighting that, and we know that fight for a long time is going to be a pointless one. And yet he fights anyway, and he chooses to stay when the easy route would have been to leave. Archer would have taken him with him. No questions asked. He chose to stay.
How much you wanted that the Kolos' honor is maybe part of the reason why Gorkon reached out to the Federation.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this might be the beginning of whatever would eventually lead to a more diplomatic Klingon Empire.
And what's really cool too about this performance is this is not the first time that Scott Bakula and J.G. Hertzler have worked together side by side.
That's true.
J.J. Hertzler was in an episode of Quantum Leap, starring, of course, Scott Bakula,
Yes.
called Sea Bride, and he was kind of the main guy that week besides Bakula.
Yeah.
No, these two have worked off of each other before, and you can tell there's chemistry that works here. These two are just playing it like veteran actors.
Very much.
And so good. So good. But this also connects, importantly, this starts kind of a sense of revenge from Duras.
Mm.
And starts Duras down a line of problems.
Yes, the Duras family is a lot of trouble.
They really are. Honor is not in the Duras name. And it's not. This, I would say this guy, what becomes dishonorable is his quest for revenge. Trying to reclaim his honor. Very, very almost Valjean and Javert in a way, which whole other theme that comes later on in other Star Trek.
Yeah.
But it's the sense that I'm gonna get him. I'm gonna get him. I'm gonna get him. But of course we see the fall of the House of Duras through time. The House of Duras is responsible for the death of so many Klingons, including Worf's father.
Yes, exactly. And a massive cover-up.
Yep, Worf's decommendation and
funny you mentioned the fall of the House of Duras. That would be really neat. Edgar Allan Poe thing.
I just did Fall of the House of Usher with my junior high students.
Yeah,
so.
There you go.
Was rewrite it.
And it's Halloween, too.
It is, yeah. But I really enjoyed this. This is a good trial episode, not so much for what happens in the trial, but the character development. And this is one of those examples where there is no growth for Archer. Archer's Archer. Archer doesn't change here. Archer, I argue, doesn't really change until season 3. Where he, starts to become mission-minded. But the fact that he had this impact on one Klingon and would set off in motion events that would happen over the next few hundred years. Which would result in the destruction of the Enterprise D, the death of countless numbers of people.
And also a lasting peace.
That's true. It would also be a lasting peace at the same time.
Lots of things come.
Absolutely.
I don't know if I would say this is a must watch, but if you connect the dots, this is an important episode.
It really is. And I as someone who's an actor, writer, director, I love this. I think this is a great masterwork between the two of them.
And there's a reason why courtroom dramas are some of the best films. And there's another one coming out this year that's coming up that might be interesting. Juror number 2.
Ooh.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes.
Awesome.
But 12 Angry Men and Judgment at Nuremberg, I mean,
I love 12 Angry Men.
Incredible courtroom dramas.
Fabulous.
And Star Trek has a great history. All the way back with Court Martial in the original series. And recently in was it there? What's the one with episode 1 of season 2 of Strange New Worlds?
Oh, Espera. It's the Latin. I always forget.
Yeah.
The one with
yeah,
the one with number one on trial.
Yeah,
that was so good too. That was the second episode.
Yeah, it was a good one
too. Yeah,
that was a good one.
Fabulous one. But yeah, courtroom episodes in Star Trek always work. Measure of a Man, I will go to Measure of Man every time. That's that good.
Mhm.
Love it. Anyway, but yeah, for me, this is a recommendation from an acting level. I think this is well done, and it's a good focus of two actors together. They really play well off of each other, and I love it. Very happy to have Gigi Hertzler pulling this off. Great job. Fabulous job.
Yep.
All right. Well, next week, we are looking at a scary movie. It's movie night here on the ship, and being the scary month that we are in, we are going to take a look at a sequel that we've already reviewed, I believe.
Well, we reviewed the original.
We reviewed the original, but now we're going to take a look at, I argue, one of the greatest sequels of all time.
I would agree with that.
Aliens.
Yes.
Aliens. And we will have a special secret guest, and we'll keep it a secret because we're looking forward to it.
And James Cameron is insane. Okay.
Oh,
but in all the right ways.
I was going to say, that was our super secret guest. It was James Cameron.
Oh, darn. That would be so nice.
That would be nice. That would be an extra long episode, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but oh yeah, Aliens. We love it.
Aliens. Yes, we're taking a look at Aliens. And then the week after, we go to Star Trek Discovery. We go to Discovery, which will be the first week in November.
Oh, boy.
So let's hit that good old randomizer and see
Please
where
give
we
us a
end
good
up.
episode.
All right. Huh. Okay. Take it or leave it. The pilot episode of Discovery, season 1, episode 1, The Vulcan Hello.
Oh no.
I'm not going to count it as a two-parter because they all connect. I think we could review this one without making it a two-parter, but
Oh boy, season 1 of
we'll talk about this. I think this is one that is very divisive among fans about whether it's split, whether people like Discovery or don't.
Yeah, it's true.
I was on the band from the beginning. I'll admit it. I like it. I see the problems and the issues with it, but I still liked it.
And I always wondered about their attempt to go for like a TVMA thing.
Yeah, and mind you, though, this came out in 2017. We hadn't had brand new Star Trek in almost 13 years, like 13 years.
Yeah.
So this was a big deal when they announced that this was going to happen. And there were some things they did that I really loved. But there are some things that I still look and go, is that the right choice? I don't know. So we will talk about the pilot episode to the divisive Star Trek series, Star Trek Discovery, in 2 weeks. Brennan, where can the people find you?
You can find me on X at Brennan Mystical. You can find me on Threads and Instagram at Brennan Blue.
Mm-hmm.
And on YouTube and Page Turners They Were Not, and also on Spotify and Apple Podcasts at Page Turners They Were Not.
And you can find me on Twitch and Twitter at Ingle1984. But as always, we end every episode. Applause. Live long and prosper.
Peace and long life.